Hello, this is Ana Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Robert Morlino, and he is with Homewise. And I definitely know that this particular interview is going to be so helpful to so many of you. Robert, is it okay that I record this interview now?
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
I
good.
put my nice shirt on and everything.
Well, you look terrific. And so I think we should just start off right off the bat. What is that interesting building behind you?
Yeah, this is our condos at El Camino crossing. So this is at Harrison and Agua Fria. Is that right? Yeah, Agua Fria. And this was a year ago. Almost all of these apartments are actually, I think, now sold. But we're starting groundbreaking on a new project right next door, actually.
So you first you called it an apartment, but then you said it's a condo. Is it a
Sorry.
condominium? Is it a
Yeah,
condo?
yeah, it is a condo, is what we call them. And we're selling the individual units. There are 13 of them.
Okay, well, so I know HomeWise. I know you've been in Santa Fe for 35 years, and I
Mhm.
just know of you. I know very little except that HomeWise is really helpful to first-time homeowners, and especially in a really expensive market like Santa Fe. I had no idea that you actually build condominiums. So just tell me everything about HomeWise.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, like you said, we have been in Santa Fe at least for 35 years. We're a statewide organization now. We have a office in Albuquerque, and we have clients all over the state for lending services and other services. But yeah, we started. I think we actually started long before I was with HomeWise, but with home improvement loans, and then over time recognizing uh, demand for exactly what you're talking about, kind of one-on-one coaching and information about becoming a homeowner. We became more involved in the lending side for the purchase of homes. We eventually started building homes like these condos. These are the only ones, is this right? Got to make sure. I think so. Only multifamily dwelling that we have in Santa Fe. Um, and we also do lending for refinances, uh, um, home improvement, home purchase, and a bunch of other kind of similar products, or I guess related products that we're in the midst of developing. And
What
so, sorry.
I just want to ask you, what inspired you to become builders? I mean, isn't that like a lot more work than, I mean, you have enough on your plate as it is. Why did you say, you know what, we're just going to build these things ourselves? What happened?
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, and I wasn't the one that made that decision, but I can kind of divine, and if Mike Lofton will call me out if I've gotten it wrong, he's our CEO. I think the idea was, so we don't build one-off homes, we build entire communities. So this condominium complex is part of what we call a mixed use community, where there are single family homes just over a fence to my rear in this photo. So we build entire communities, usually of 40 to 60 houses, I'd say. And the idea is that we're building an entire sustainable community there. We also build homes in all of our communities reserved for people that meet special income requirements. So usually 120% of area median income, but that's a little technical. Basically, folks who maybe with traditional lenders wouldn't be able to afford to buy a home. We reserve a certain number of homes for people who maybe don't have the savings for a down payment, or are making a little less than what the market would bear. Because we have this affordability issue in New Mexico generally, and specifically in Santa Fe, that's really important to be able to have a community where we reserve a certain number of units for folks who maybe wouldn't be able to buy a home otherwise. And what's important for us is in those communities, those mixed income communities, which all of them are, all of HomeWises are, is we make a really concerted effort to make sure that all of those houses appear the same from the curb, right? None of the affordable units are apparently made of poorer materials or a simpler design or anything like that.
And so these more of the people that maybe couldn't afford a down payment, are they required to have any type of a down payment?
We provide down payment assistance usually, and so does the governments. City of Albuquerque is doing it right now. Sometimes the federal government does down payment assistance. So all that means is that, like a lot of us, right? a lot of American families, especially right now, don't have $50,000, $60,000 on hand to pay the 20% down payment. So what we do is we'll offer, it's often in the form of a zero interest loan, so that home buyers only have to put down 2% to 5%, right? Which is a lot more manageable. And that's important. I mean, like I said, it's not the fault of anybody in particular why most Americans can't afford a $500 or $1,000 emergency. But what we find is that when we do one-on-one coaching and we offer the education and we let people know all about the home purchase process, which can be complicated, quite complicated, when they have all the facts at their fingertips, they make good financial decisions. And not having savings on hand to afford a down payment is not really indicative of someone's ability to pay a mortgage over a long period of time if they have the knowledge at hand to make good investments.
So what is the average cost for some of these affordable homes in Santa Fe?
Oh, I don't know on the affordable units because I think that's determined on a case by case basis. The market rate for some of these condos when they were sold was just under $200,000, which at the time would have been one of the least expensive homes sold in Santa Fe. I think I'm right about that. They might have crept up over 200,000.
Well, I hate to say this, but 200,000 sounds like that doesn't sound very affordable to me. I mean, that sounds like a lot of money,
Yeah, well, when the average home price in Santa Fe is 500,000, it relatively is affordable. And we do, we're a nonprofit, so we don't, our margins maybe are, I don't know what our margins are compared to other buyers, but we do our very best to keep it that way. Obviously, some of the cost of these homes is determined by certainly things outside of our control, construction materials and things like that. That's something we've seen go kind of crazy in the past year as well. So so they are relatively affordable to the market. And we do a lot to try to keep it that way. And then obviously the reserved affordable units will be at an even more advantageous price for the folks who qualify.
So these communities, you say that's mixed income. So are there like $500,000 homes there as well? So like
not in this community, I don't think. In Tessera, which is on the other side of 599, that's a Homewise community. Some of them creep up above $500,000. But they're, what's nice about those homes is that we also have, that affordability requirement, or not requirement, we volunteer it, that there are affordable homes there as well that are not any different from the curb than some of the other ones. But those are more on the high end, I'd say, in terms of design as well.
So when did you move to Albuquerque? When I first started researching you folks to get you on the show here, I was like, oh my God, they have an office in Albuquerque. When did Albuquerque come about?
Yeah, I mean, we started working there many years ago. I think the office got set up there 6 or 7 years ago with a handful of employees, and now there's a couple dozen employees that work out of our Albuquerque office. And as a marketing director, I can tell you, in terms of interest generated, like the number of leads, the amount of interest we get is now Albuquerque has eked out Santa Fe ever so slightly now. Now that's probably something to do with the fact that inventory Santa Fe is a smaller city and inventory is lower in Santa Fe. Inventory is at an all-time low almost in Santa Fe, maybe, in terms of homes. But yeah, we are. So to answer your question, a little under a decade, I guess.
And are you seeing, is Albuquerque, I mean, is it like Santa Fe in the sense that it's, I mean, normal people can't afford to live in Santa Fe any longer. They can't even afford rents for the now. I mean, are you seeing that in Albuquerque?
Not yet. Home prices are going up, but one thing, home prices are going up in Albuquerque, and probably across the state. Now, like I said, a lot of that might have to do, at least with new construction, with materials increasing, but a lot of it has to do with just scarcity and all the other things that determine a home's value. What Homewise has tried to do, we're a member of the Santa Fe Housing Action Coalition, which is really focused on Santa Fe, but we've been recently giving some advice to state reps because we were in the legislative session. So one of the things we do as part of that coalition is try to discuss with local officials, and in this case state officials, ways to improve housing affordability. And one of the things we call on our Santa Fe City Council to do is to commit $3 million to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, money that can go towards down payment assistance, rental assistance, and construction or support construction of more affordable housing. So it's one of the great things about being a nonprofit is while we don't lobby as a 501c3, we're not allowed to do that. What we can do is make as part of a coalition, suggest ways that the city can better fund or support affordable housing. So fingers crossed we'll get $3 million in that trust fund this year. And that's a trust fund that's managed by the city for these projects.
And then do you have an outreach program to other builders in New Mexico, or do other builders say, oh, I don't want to work with Homewise, we won't make any money, or how does that work?
No, that's not the case at all. I mean, we like with sorry, not to negate your question. I'm glad you brought that up because we work with a number of builders. They're all wonderful. I mean, I've never heard from our real estate design people a bad thing about any of them, of course, and that we're working with a couple crews in the city at the moment. But no, I mean, I think they negotiate a contract and get paid well. So it's not, and we don't make the homes are of premium construction materials too. So they're excellent quality. But what we actually do, we're just starting a program now. I hope I'm not blowing up anybody's spot here, called Buildwise, which is a cool program mainly focused in Albuquerque at the moment, in which if you're a small, any size of contractor really, but you'll hear why it's kind of more oriented towards small contractors. It's a program where, let's say you're a roofer and you know all about roofing, the materials, the method, all that stuff, but maybe you don't know a lot about business or setting up a marketing strategy or things like this. Our new program, Buildwise, is something you can enroll in for free that will help educate you, I guess, about some of those things, building a brand, how to build relationships with other contractors that you might be able to refer each other to, how to find clients generally, you know. So that's really cool, because just because you might be a great technically minded electrician, for example, doesn't mean you necessarily know all these complicated ins and outs of business, right? So that's something we want to help provide to these contractors, is some of the less intuitive tips on how to run your business aside from your operational side, right?
Well, you know, as we speak, I'm getting some quotes. I need a new roof on my house, and so I'm getting a lot of different roofers have come to my house, and most of them, they don't really know. It's like, I need a written proposal. You know, most of these guys they just like shoot out some numbers, and so that's probably what that kind of sounds like. What you're saying is like, you know, they need to know there's like a protocol. You know, these smaller companies that are used to doing things a certain way, you know, there's like a protocol where you should have a written estimate and all these different things, and so that makes a lot of sense. But so that's going on in Albuquerque now, but you're not offering that here in Santa Fe yet?
You know, I'm not the manager of that program. I don't think it's restricted geographically at the moment. I think Albuquerque is where we're focusing it because it's a larger population, probably more of those businesses there. So it being a fledgling program at the moment, I know that's where the focus has been, I think, for that reason.
And you said you now service the entire state. So tell me, how does that work? If you wanted to, you know, get an affordable home in Tucumcari, or how does that work? Since you're in Santa Fe, what would they do? Would they contact your Santa Fe office and say, you know, I'm a first time, you know, I'm a young family and we're looking to buy a house. Could you help us out? Or how does that work?
Sure. Yeah, that would almost exactly be how it goes. You know, we only build right now in Santa Fe and Albuquerque, but one thing to note is that while we, for much of our existence, focused on first-time home buyers, we help everybody now. You know, now there's certain programs that are better for someone if it's their first time buying a home. We offer a home buyer education class and financial fitness class and all of that. But we'll buy your home, we'll sell your home too. And we sell, you know, homes all over Santa Fe of all sorts of price points. Helps fund our nonprofit operations. But if someone in Tucumcari wanted to buy a home, we haven't built any homes in Tucumcari, but they could reach out to Homewise at 983-9473 and talk about lending, right? Lending is kind of our main project, our bread and butter, and how we cut our teeth. And is probably, I mean, we build amazing houses, but most of the people who borrow from Homewise do not buy a Homewise home. I might buy a home.
Yeah, I had no idea you built houses. I thought
Only the lending. Yeah,
I thought the lending was your primary purpose. Wasn't it initially when you first started out? Wasn't that it? Weren't you?
Yeah, and I would say it absolutely still is. You know, we create between 500 and 600 homeowners a year, and they create their own home ownership, but we help them become homeowners.
So
And
they
we've
borrow the
only,
money from you. You're the bank then. You're the
yeah,
mortgage company.
yeah. And the way we do it, we're a community development financial institution. Did I get the acronym right? CDFI. Yes, I did. And what that means is we have a special relationship with Fannie Mae for a lot of these lending products, right, with the federal government. So we end up selling all our loans there, and that's part of the way we're able to do this education piece and offer lower down payments and things like that.
And you said now you'll lend to just like all the other, not other people, just not just first time homeowners. So like, what if somebody's, they want to borrow, they want to get a loan from you, but they're really well off, they're retirees or something. Do you not do that? Or do you have like a criteria, like anybody making 50,000 or less? Those are definitely that's our market.
No, we'll help anybody buy a home. One thing that we focus on is owner occupied homes. So I think, I have to be honest on, I can't tell you, but I think if you're trying to buy a second home, like a vacation home in Santa Fe, those are not people we typically help. We're really interested in helping people become owners and occupiers of that home. So so that's not our target market, is kind of the vacation home market. But otherwise, yeah, anybody who wants to buy, sell, refinance, we can help. And our rates are competitive. We're a lender like anybody else. Being a nonprofit doesn't inherently make doesn't really.
So that your rates aren't lower then?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, they could be, but Wells Fargo's rate might be lower on any given day than Bank of America's. There's a lot of variables that go in there.
Okay.
So I know that I just refinanced my home, and the rate I got with Homewise was the best rate available to me.
And in terms of you still you provide loans for somebody, like for me, if I wanted to get a loan from you to help do my roof right now, do you offer that type of thing to individuals?
Absolutely, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that's like exactly the type of product we started with, was a home improvement loan, because in the 80s, what we were realizing is you have all these wonderful homes in Santa Fe, some of which have been owned by the same family for literally centuries, right? And so you have folks that the home has been owned outright, and now the home's worth like $300,000, and you have to get the roof replaced. Well, that might be more cash than you do have on hand. So home improvement loans for a lot of these older adobe homes is really how we got started.
And do you have competition in New Mexico, or is Homewise it?
I mean, that's an amazing question. So we compete with other lenders. So we kind of have some competition with Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Wells Fargo also on and off has also sponsored our classes, for example, right? So competitors and, kind of, so yeah, I guess we compete with those other lenders. In some ways we compete with other home builders too. But there's no other nonprofit to my knowledge that does what we do. Certainly not at that scale.
And are there comparable nonprofits, say in neighboring states, Colorado or even California? I mean, are you kind of modeled on other organizations, such as, something's going on in California or someplace?
There are similar organizations, and we're a member of a national organization called NeighborWorks that's made up of other CDFIs and nonprofits that help with housing. I have to say we're a bit exceptional in terms of how old we are and exactly the way we do, and how established we are in this kind of work. So, no, I'm sure. Yes, sorry. I'm sure there are other organizations that we referenced over the past few decades to develop into what we are now. But there's no other organization that's exactly like Homewise, I have to say, in my own research. And it's interesting. We kind of serve as a model nationwide for other places. We somewhat regularly get just inquiring parties about how we do what we do.
So you actually are a model for other. That's a good point. And you said that you're exceptional, and of course you're exceptional because you're in Santa Fe. We're all exceptional in Santa Fe. I'm just kidding. In terms of the classes, do you charge for these classes, or if somebody wanted to take one of your classes? I mean, of course they'll go to your website, but what do they need to do, or how do they qualify? If they don't make a lot of money, do they get in for free or at a discount, or how does that work?
No, they're totally free. All you have to do is sign up. They're required usually as part of purchasing our loan products, or one is. And we have 2 up now. I just literally finished a 3rd today. We'll post it probably early next week. So our classes are homebuyer education. That's the one that's often required, or a requisite part of our lending services. But other lenders will send people to that to that class to take it. It's all just very good, interesting information about buying a home. Anybody who's already bought a home or looked into it knows there's a lot of documentation, a lot of your own financial information to consider. That runs down all of that. And then we have our financial fitness class, also free to anybody who wants to take it. That covers credit, budgeting, debt reduction, general financial information that might be relevant to buying a home, but needn't be. And then our last class is called New Home Now What, which is a home not just for people who have a brand new home, but anybody who's a homeowner, to cover some other finances, as well as cover things like home maintenance and how to contribute to your community, for example.
And I take it, I mean, we're still in the pandemic here, so I take it these classes are online.
They are, yeah, they
Were
are
they,
all
were they
entirely
prior to the
online now.
pandemic, were they ever in person, or they've always been online?
They were always in person prior to the pandemic. And so the pandemic forced our hand a little bit, honestly, to try to get them up online. And in doing that, we noticed some distinct advantages to having them online. So I'd love to get to a point where we can do them in person too. And that's most important, I think, because people have a lot of questions, so you can ask them in real time. But
Well,
I
you
think
could
we'll
do it
always have a
on-
digital component.
You could do it
Sorry?
on, you
And
could do a Zoom class, but
we
I think
do.
the advantage of doing it online is, again, I don't know why I keep saying Tucumcari, but somebody in Tucumcari could actually take your class. It might be harder for them to drive to Santa Fe. So these are, the pandemic is it's been an advantage in many sense, for different things such as this.
For that, yeah. I mean, someone in Leipzig, Germany could watch it. And we can see when people watch it internationally, it happens. People sign up, and I don't know why, because their home purchase process is totally different. But it's interesting nonetheless. And yeah, they're actually on YouTube videos. So you can watch them at your own pace. And then we encourage everybody to sign up for a Q&A session at the end that is held by Zoom, and it's held on Saturday, like during the day, and then Tuesday evening, to try to account for people's schedules. So they're still allowed to take questions. It's just you can't ask it to the YouTube video, but you can ask at the Q&A session afterwards.
Well, a lot of helpful, useful information there. My timer went off a little while ago. So
Oh no, sorry.
no, that's okay. I'm glad. I just want to ask you, what is the future of Santa Fe? Do you have any more communities in the pipeline? Because I know Santa Fe, this is my hometown, and I know how hard it is for regular people to afford to live here any longer.
Yeah.
Anything in the pipeline? Anything we should know about? To get our hopes up?
Sure, there is, and I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about, but I'll get in trouble, so it's fine. We are doing a couple of communities that will launch in this next year. There will be an expansion of this El Camino crossing community. There'll be some live work units that are currently being built. If you drive past there, you will likely see them being framed next week. And then we have another community that I live in, Pueblos del Sol, down here on the kind of south side of Santa Fe. And if you are driving down Richards Road, you'll have noticed construction started right before the underpass to I-25. That is a new community called Desert Sage. And then beyond that is Oshara Village, where we have some homes. We'll be adding homes there. So yeah, what does that make it? Just over 60, 70-ish homes we'll build next year to add to inventory.
So that's in 2022.
2021. No, that's this year. Sorry, this year. Yeah, okay. This calendar year should be.
This calendar year. Well, that's great. Well, that's something to look forward to. I want to thank you, and your information. This video will actually appear in all the different counties of New Mexico, since you're all over the state now. So hopefully, I'll get some other people to become acquainted with what Homewise does. I thank you all for the work that you've done. A great job. I mean, anybody who has a nonprofit for 35 years and has tangible results. I mean, that says a lot for your organization. I thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's a pleasure.
You take care.
Bye.